Oh, hey, didn't even see you come in. Sorry, I've been enjoying this pumpkin pie. In fact, it's the same pumpkin pie that I made in the video that you're about to watch. Now, I gotta be honest, I almost didn't show you guys. No, it's not because I'm trying to hold my secrets back. It's because I wasn't completely satisfied with the results. I struggled with the decision to see if I should go ahead and publish it because I'm very detail oriented. That's the good way of saying it. So when things don't go perfectly right, I'm unhappy, I'm mad at myself, and it's not the image that I portray. I always want to show you guys that yes, I am the greatest barbecuer of all time, but we all know that's not true. So that is why I'm showing you guys, to show you that mess ups do happen, but you need to roll with it because even the mess ups can sometimes be good. And obviously, I'm eating smoked pumpkin pie, so it is good. So after you guys are done watching, I'm gonna come back and tell you exactly why I wasn't happy, if you guys couldn't figure it out already. So until then, enjoy the pie. What up guys? It's Chris with Bottle Cap Barbecue. Now the holidays are finally here, and that means that everybody and their grandmother is making pumpkin pie. Well, I ain't gonna be any different. I am gonna make pumpkin pie, but what I'm gonna do is actually bring you a nice little series about how I, as a barbecuer and smoker, can use pumpkin in ways that you haven't seen before. So I am be taking those classic pumpkin recipes and I'm be giving them a little spin out on the smoker. So first up is pumpkin pie. But what I'm gonna do is actually something a little fun. I wanna know if doing the basic preparation of the pumpkin makes a difference on if you do it in the oven or out in the smoker. Now obviously you would think doing it on smoker would give you that nice wood charcoal flavor that us grillers love. But I'm gonna put it to the test. So I'm gonna make the pumpkin mash for the pumpkin pie in two ways. I'm gonna do one pumpkin in the oven and one pumpkin out on the smoker. And I'm gonna do a blind taste test with some family and friends to see if they can tell me which one they prefer. I won't tell them which one was the smoked, which one was the baked. That's all I'm gonna be doing different, just the pumpkin mash preparation. So we'll see if that really makes a difference in the end. So let me show you how we get these pumpkins ready and we'll make some pumpkin pie. All right, so the pumpkins you wanna use for this is the small ones. They're sometimes called sweet pumpkins or pie pumpkins because they're perfect size for making pumpkin pie. This is about maybe 2 or 3 pounds. You might need two of these for a pie, because after we get all done, you need about 4 cups of mash. So you may need 2 of these. All right. First thing you want to do is you want to get rid of the stem. Use a very sharp knife. Makes it easy. Obviously, be careful. All right. So there's that. And next thing you want to do is cut it in half. Now, if you're like me, you're gonna save the seeds because you can do some good things with the seeds. So scoop them out. Even if you don't save them, have to scoop it out anyway. All right, so I got these things cleaned out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least get all the seeds and most of the guts. So, all right, now we need to get this on a cookie sheet. Okay, got our cookie sheet, and I almost forgot. On one of the ends, it doesn't matter which, I usually choose the end that had the stem. You want to cut a notch. What this is going to do is it's going to prevent pressure buildup inside the pumpkin as it's cooking. And I've done this before without doing it, and because of the pressure, the pumpkin sticks to the cookie sheet, and it's hard to get off. So just cut a notch like that. If you use the end that has the stem, you're not going to lose anything. So you're not going to lose much anyway. All right, so I want you to do that. Go ahead and get some salt and put some salt around the edge. Basically, we're just coercing juices and flavor out of this thing, and then get all over the body of it. That's what I do is I kind of just turn it like that. It'll stick by itself. You don't have to coat it with anything. And you don't have to use too much either. Now, lay it cut side down on the cookie sheet. And we want to oil the outside. So use any oil you want. I usually like using canola oil because it's a high smoke point. And it's just good flavor. Again, not very much, don't have to use too much, just enough to coat the outside. You know, I suppose you could use a brush or whatever, but use your hands. Okay, so I got my oven cranked up to 375. The time that's gonna take really depends on the size of the pumpkin. This is kind of a small pie pumpkin, so you usually want to do it for like an hour or 45 minutes. This is probably gonna be closer to a half hour, maybe 40 minutes. But 375, you don't have to do anything else to it, just let it do its thing. Basically what you're looking for is a little bit of browning on the outside, and if you can take a knife and a puncture test, it should be really smooth and tender. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So here's what our pumpkin looks like after about 40 minutes in the oven. Now, when you pull them out, you can tell if they're done, but if you take a knife, go right through, and just like when you're testing tenderness in a rib or in a brisket, it just has that butter in and out, just like that. So, all right, we're gonna let these cool down, and then we're gonna scoop them out. All right, so these things have cooled down enough for me to handle. I mean, they're still gonna be a little warm, but not too bad. So, you need to take a bowl, a nice a scoop. I'm using an ice cream scoop, and what you want to do is just scoop them out. Set it caramelized, nice on the edges. And there's no rocket science behind this. You just scoop it all out into a bowl, leaving behind the skin. Kind of reminds me of when you get a baked sweet potato. It's kind of the same thing, just kind of peeling it off. The skin's peeling clean off. And that right there is why we leave a little notch in there. When they're baking, all that pressure is building up, and it'll kind of create a vacuum onto the cookie sheet. So you want to leave that notch so it relieves that pressure. All right, here it is. That is our roasted pumpkin from the oven. Oh, it smells delicious. It's just that nutty aroma that you get from baking pumpkin or even squash. That kind of has that same aroma. So I'm wondering if it's, well, I'm not even wondering, I know it's going to smell different coming off of the smoker. So we'll see about that one. But so this is the one that we're using for the pumpkin pie. That's just the normal prep. Now the very last step in this is pulverizing. Now you will need some sort of food processor, either an actual food processor or a blender of some sort. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pumpkin mash, put it in here for about 3 or 4 minutes, because you want this thing to be smooth with no chunks in it whatsoever. I dare to say kind of like what you get out of the can, but it's gonna taste so much better doing it this way. So that's our next step. Now we're not adding any oils or butter or anything. This is just raw pumpkin. What's nice is you get those caramelized bits from the edges of the pan. So that's going to add a layer of flavor here. What you can do is when you open it up, you can use a little spatula to push down the sides. You're going to be doing this a few times. So again, we're doing this about 3 or 4 minutes, just looking for that consistency of smooth. All right, we are done. So the consistency is great. There's no chunks, there's no lumps. Oh, perfect. See? Just nice thick. Probably could make an awesome soup with this. Good idea. All right, so even if you're finding this after the holiday season's over, you're gonna find some awesome deals on pumpkins in stores. Go ahead and get them, prepare them, because you can take this and you can freeze it. Do it now while pumpkins are in season and they're all over the stores, especially right after Halloween, right after Thanksgiving. They're gonna be on sale, so take the opportunity and use the freezer space if you have it. So I'm just gonna put this in a bowl. I'm gonna do the exact same thing with our smoked pumpkin. So I don't need to show you guys that. It's the exact same process. But just important to note that I am not going to be mixing these two at all. I'm keeping them separate. All right, now it's time for the smoked pumpkins. Now, as you can see, I have prepped them the exact same way I did the other ones. There's salt on the inside, and they have a layer of canola oil on the outside. Now, when we did it in the oven, we did it at 375. I have my smoker set to 300. So it's gonna take a little longer probably, but I want that nice smoke flavor in the pumpkin. That's the whole point of this, right? Now, I am using an elevated rack, so they'll be away from the heat source as much as possible. And I'm estimating about an hour and a half, but we'll see. In here, right there. And that's where they'll sit. All right, so this is what it looks like on the inside. See, they're on the elevated rack there. I just have them on one of those wired sheets, wire cooling racks. That's gonna let smoke penetrate all the way through. So I'm probably gonna come out here and rotate them maybe about every half hour or so, just to make sure they're getting even cooking all around. All right, let's take a look at these things. Oh, it looks beautiful. Now, as you can see, I did add a couple because just like with the other ones, they are kind of small, so did a couple more. But look at that beautiful color. Now, did I say an hour and a half? Well, it's been 2.5 hours. So, and a little different one than what the ovens are. Other one is, it's more firm out here. So obviously it's a drier cooking method. So it got drier, but still you have that. It's tender. It's tender. So, all right. So these guys are ready. So we're gonna take them inside and turn them into mash, just like we did with the baked ones. All right, guys. It's time for full disclosure. So peeling these off the smoker is not the same as peeling them out of the oven. There's not as much moisture in them. So what I'm ending up having to do is taking a fillet knife or whatever knife you want that's kind of flexible and kind of skinning it like you would skin fish. So it's coming straight off the skin like that and just leaving a little bit. So obviously this is going to change the texture of it a little bit. But I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. We'll find out together. I've never smoked pumpkins before. It just sounded like an awesome idea. Because, well, smoking anything is an awesome idea in my book. But just to see how I'm doing that, just literally just filleting it like you would skin off of a fish or anything else. So that's all I'm doing. Just taking the big chunks. They've cooled down a bit. And cutting them into manageable pieces. I mean, you can see how it's drier than the oven would be. You can break it apart, and there's still moisture on the inside. It reminds me like anything else you cook out on the smoker. It has a kind of a dry bark on the outside, and on the inside it's nice and tender and moist. So there is that moisture on the inside, and it smells amazing, just like I said it did outside. So I am just occasionally getting some skin pieces, just cut it off. All right, so that's all I want to show you. Other than this, it's gonna be the same process with the mash. All right, guys, this was unplanned, but I learned things the hard way so that you don't have to. So I'm doing the mash just like I did with the baked, and as you can see, it's a little drier. Because if you think about it, it does make sense. I mean, the smoking is a dry cooking. It's a drier process. That's why you can do jerky on a smoker. So there's not as much moisture in here as there is with the baked. So I'm actually adding some moisture in here. So I can't give you the exact quantities. I don't know how much this thing holds. But so this is my second batch in this. I basically filled it to the max with about half the pumpkins. So I had about one and a half of small pumpkins in here. So I'm adding just a little bit of water as needed. So the last one I added just about half cup. So I'm gonna go just shy of half cup on this one, just to see where we're at moisture wise. All right, definitely better. But just like with the other mash, you gotta kind of knock it down off the edges and do it 2 or 3 times. Again, just trying to get rid of all the chunks. And just by looking at it, I am going to go ahead and add the rest of this half cup of water. So I've only added about half cup total to this. And so you can, that's how dry it looks. This is the first batch I did, so you can see that. So this is nice and smooth, just like the other one from the oven. And this looks like what, it doesn't look like what comes out of the can, but it's the same consistency as what comes out of the can. So that's what we're looking for. And again, this was the exact same measurement, about half cup of water or so. So that's what we're trying to get with this. There we go, we got it. So this one took about 3/4 cup of water. Obviously, it's still gonna be different than the oven baked, or even, and always as better as what comes out of the can. But just gotta play around with the water. Just because that is a drier climate, so it's going to pull the moisture out of it. So you gotta add it back in, but that flavor of the smoke is still in here. So, all right, I'm going to add this to the first batch, and we will get the pies made. The pie crust recipe we're using for this is something I found online a long time ago, and I love it. It is my kind of simple recipe. Stupid simple. It only has 4 ingredients, and it comes together really easy. So here's what it is. So first thing you want is you want 1 cup and 2 teaspoons of flour, just regular all-purpose flour. 1 cup, 2 teaspoons of flour. Then you want half a teaspoon of salt. I'm using kosher salt. Then take a fork and just mix that together. Next is a 1/3 cup of oil. The recipe called for canola. I'm using vegetable oil. Use whatever oil you want. And you want to mix this just until it comes together. So you don't want to get too aggressive with it. You don't have to wait for it to be completely mixed together. If there's some marbling, that's okay. You just want this to just come together, then stop. Because if you over mix crust recipes, you get tough crust. All right, so just till it comes together. Perfect, all done. So you can see how he still has some flour in there. That's okay. Now the last ingredient is 2 tablespoons of ice cold water. And when you put this in there, it's gonna look way watery. That's okay. Yeah, if I can get this without ice cubes getting in there. All right, and again, you wanna mix this just until it comes together. And what I found to do is kind of push it and make a well for the water to go in, and then the flour is gonna soak up the water. It's gonna look really weird at first, but once you get it mixed together, it'll come together really nice. Again, just want to mix it until it just comes together. Okay, that's it. So again, you might see some marbling in there. That's okay. We do not want to overwork this. This dough recipe is really easy. It's really forgiving. So it's great for people that don't do a lot of baking like myself. It's really forgiving. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so we have our dough, we have our pie tin, our rolling pin, and wax paper. Now I'm not gonna spread flour all over it, roll it out and everything, no. I'm gonna roll it out on this wax paper. Makes it really easy to clean up. Don't have to worry about flour blowing everywhere. You just want to get pieces big enough that it'll fit over the tin. Take your dough out. Maybe scrape up some of the remaining bits in there. All right. You see how it's marbled? That's okay. It's gonna all come together as it sits. So kind of get your ball formed. Pop it right in the middle. Maybe kind of get it started, flatten it out a little bit. And put the other one right on top. Then take your rolling pin, and start forming your crust. All right, make sure we have big enough for a pie tin. We're gonna have some gaps on the edges. That's okay. This is what I mean by this crust recipe is really forgiving. All right, now that we're ready, go ahead and pull off our top layer. And when you do this, you want to be careful so you don't tear it. Okay, top layer usually comes off pretty easy. Now this next part is kind of the tricky part. I'll take this, go over, pie tin. Okay. Now, start on one end and peel off the crust. It's going to tear. Any way you do this, no matter how many times, it's going to tear. That's okay. This dough comes back together really easily. It's really flexible. So just like that. Sometimes you just kind of pull up. And I found that it normally tears wherever there's a fold in the paper. Once you get started, sometimes it just kind of falls by itself. Don't go too fast. Just like that. All right, perfect. Not too bad. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to push down onto it, because that's going to stretch it out a little too much and you will get more tears. So kind of lift up on the edge and let it just kind of fall down into it. It's gonna tear, don't worry. Kind of let it fall into the corner. Don't worry about tears, we'll fix those. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. See what I'm doing? Kind of just lifting it, letting it fall, kind of guiding it also. Okay, see how it tore right there? That's all right. We're gonna fix that. All right, now they got that in. Kind of make sure that we're in the corners, we're on the edges. Basically just lift up on the edge, let it fall. Use your finger, push it into the edge if you need to. Important thing is not to force it. Okay, now that we got it all around the edges, basically what you can do is, as there's excess, you can peel it off, push it together, and you use it kind of like patchwork for any tears or holes that were made. So I'm putting together everything that fell off. And the edges kind of just want to push to the edge, kind of flatten everything out if there's folds, and then tear off the excess that comes over the edge. Make a little collection pile right there. Pretty much got everything cleaned up off the edge. All right, so we have this big crack right there, small hole right there, and we have a little section right there. So all your collected pieces, literally just pull some off, squish it together, flatten it out, however size you need, and you literally just use it like a patchwork. Push it where you need it. It goes together really well, and as it bakes, it melds together. You won't even tell in the end product. So push that together, go there, kind of flatten it out. You don't want it to be too puffy. You want it to mix with the rest of the layer so it's even. Okay, everything else looks good. Got that big gash right there. I'm kind of gonna roll a big piece. See that? And I'm gonna use this to fill in that crack. And then as I'm pushing it, I'm kind of forcing it up so all the excess goes over the edge. So again, I keep the even layer. So it's not gonna look perfect. It doesn't need to. It looks like a homemade pie. Okay, so now what I like doing, I'll try to do over here so you guys can see. Over the edge, kind of just squish your fingers, and kind of form a lip around the entire thing. This is not going to be even. Don't worry about it. Don't be too much of a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist in a lot of areas of my life. This is not going to be one of them. Basically just form a nice little lip. And now what kind of I like to do is be a little artsy, is I use fingers, my two fingers like that, and kind of form a little design. See what I'm doing there? It's not going to be even all the way around, but just something nice. Give it a little extra love. Put some love into what you make. That's that. So I got that one. It's nice and actually it looks a lot better than the first one I did. Actually, I missed a little spot in the bottom right there. So again, just take some, kind of pat it into place. Do the last minute checks, see anything you missed maybe. This stuff is really flexible, so like I said, it's perfect for rookies or newbies or people that just don't do baking enough like myself. So, all right, I think that's good. All right, so this one is a little nicer than the other one. I mean, let me get the other one I did. So, here's the other one I did. Obviously, the first one's gonna be a little worse than the second. I can use a little bit more patchwork in this one. This one doesn't look as nice. It doesn't have the nice edge, but we're gonna use that. That way, we can remember which one is which. Which one is the smoked, which one is the baked pumpkin. So, all right, so nicer that. I'm gonna maybe flip a coin to see which one goes in which, but next step you wanna do is, you'll see this in almost any recipe where you're making pie from scratch. Use a knife or a fork and you poke the bottom. As it bakes, it's gonna create bubbles or air. You wanna keep that down, so you wanna make little holes in the bottom. So this is gonna be in a 425 degree oven for about 10 minutes. But after the first 5 minutes, I'm gonna open it up and check just to make sure there's no air bubbles or anything rising, because as it bakes, whatever imperfections are in the dough, they're gonna stay there. So I'm gonna open up in 5 minutes. If there's any bubbles in there, I'll kind of just pat them down with the fork, and that'll be it. So again, 10 minutes, 425. I'm not gonna show you that. It's pretty standard. Literally, I'm not gonna do anything else. Hey guys, just real quick. The pies just came out of the oven. You won't pull them out when they start getting golden brown around those edges. And you can see this one got a little more brown on the bottom than this other one did. I think it's because maybe that one was thinner on the bottom. So here's the pretty one, the one that we have the curved edges. So I think I'm gonna put the smoked pumpkin combo in this one, and then the one that really looks homemade is gonna have the oven roasted pumpkin in it. So that's how you guys will know. I won't tell anybody else that tastes the pies. But I just want to show you what these things look like right out of the oven so you know what to look for. So again, 425, right at 10 minutes. Putting the filling together for this pie is actually really easy. Once you have all your ingredients ready, you literally just dump it all in and mix together. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take 4 cups of our pumpkin mash. So this is the oven braised pumpkin. So just take 4 cups. Next, we're gonna add 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. Next, we have 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. 3 eggs that I've lightly beaten. 2 tablespoons of molasses. Next is 2 tablespoons of canola oil. I'm just gonna use the same measuring cup. Maybe we can get a little bit more of that molasses in there. Or not, either way. One less dish. Now we have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is what really sets up the pie for that nice consistency. 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of ginger. Okay, now I just mix it all together. I love making fresh homemade pumpkin pie versus the ones you get in the store, or even using the pumpkin filling you get out of the can. Just doing it this way, you see all the different colors of the ingredients. It's not just that one flat tan canvas color. You actually see every ingredient that you're putting in here. All right, we are all mixed together. So the exact same recipe I'm using for both the oven braised pumpkin and the smoked pumpkin. But I can tell you there's already a difference. So here's the pumpkin we did in the oven. Here's the pumpkin we did on the smoker. I'm not sure if you're picking it up or not, but there is definitely a color difference. The smoked one is obviously going to be a little darker. It's also thicker. So I'll wash this off between, but I just want to show you guys. Look at how smooth this one is. And both of these haven't been kept in the refrigerator because it's been a couple hours since I made them and pureed them. But so look how loose this one is, which is the one we did in the oven. And now look at the consistency of the smoked one. Again, I'm using the exact same quantities of everything. And these have been chilling for the exact same amount of time. Just, I don't know what it is. The smoked one has a thicker consistency. I guess because we had to add that water when we were doing the mash, it just has a thicker consistency. There's not as much liquid in it. I don't know. You can see this. Shake like that, shake like that. So, okay, I'm gonna get these into the crusts we made and we'll get them in the oven. So right now we're gonna heat the oven up to 350 and get these poured into the crusts. All right guys, these just came out of the oven. Just shy of an hour, about 55 minutes or so. So here's what we want to look for. As you're looking at them, I'm not sure if you'll pick it up. It kind of jiggles just a little bit. What you're looking for is you're looking for the middle of these to get solid, to get solidified, to set. So as you're cooking it, as you open the oven, you'll see a little wiggle. You just want to look until they're pretty solid. And also a good sign is if you start seeing these cracks, that's when it's getting close. So I'll give you a couple seconds to see if you can tell which one is the smoked, which one is the oven baked or oven broiled. Yep, so this one is the smoked, this one is broiled. So the smoked one again is thicker, has that darker color to it. It's not as smooth as the oven broiled one. This one over here looks more like what you'd see in the store where it has that smooth sheen top. This one over here has more of a texture to it. It kind of looks like it doesn't look like it rose, but it's set the same way it poured into the crust. That's interesting. And this one, yeah. This one definitely is gonna be thicker. And even just tasting and texture, it looks like it's gonna be thicker. All right, so here's the smoked. It's darker. It's the one that has the rigid crust. This is the oven broiled pumpkin, smooth sheen. We're gonna let these things cool off and we're gonna have a blind taste test. So I'm gonna have everybody taste it, and I'm gonna ask them 2 questions. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think is smoked? All right, so we'll see how we do with the results. I have no clue, but I'm excited to find out. All right, guys, time to taste. So I need you guys to tell me which one you prefer and which one do you think is the smoked.
Oh, you cut them into little cubies.
Yep.
So, just looking at them real quick.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I don't think I like either of them.
Okay.
I think they need to be sweeter. That's my only thing. Is like it just tastes like squash. But I think that one is smoked.
The one on the right. Okay.
I think that one's smoked. I like this one a tiny bit more. But I think it needs a little bit of some kind of spice in it.
Okay. Do you think that one's smoked because of the color or taste?
Taste.
The taste, it has a little bit of a smoky
Taste.
Okay.
Especially the aftertaste. Once it's all out of your mouth, you taste is that kind of smoke linger.
Which is nice.
Jokes on you guys, it's not the smoked one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right? It is. It is.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
no,
color
it's not.
kind of tipped me off too.
Yeah.
But there is that after smoky taste.
That's the only difference. The recipe itself is the exact same.
Gotcha.
Just the pumpkin itself preparation. One was on the oven, one was smoked.
Now, I should probably preface it with I hate pumpkin pie. I
Gotcha.
don't like it. But
Yep.
you're making it, so I figured I'd give it.
So, as you heard my friend say, we had mixed results. Ultimately, both pies are good. They're not going to be as sweet as store-bought or the puree you get from the can, which is what we're going for. We want a homemade pumpkin pie. Now, I could doctor it up and make it a little sweeter, but honestly, I like it like this. Both pies taste good. So the consensus was, yes, the smoked pie tastes good, but the weirdness of the texture is what threw everybody off. And I agree with them. So this is the smoked one, and it is not as smooth as store-bought or even the other pumpkin pie. It is grainier. There are some more chunks of the pumpkin. So if that's what you're going for, go with it. It tastes fine. It's not this right texture. So if you brought this to a party and said, hey, here's my pumpkin pie, you might get some looks. But if you say, hey, this is my homemade smoked pumpkin pie, everybody's gonna think it's a novelty and they're gonna love it. Because honestly, it does taste good. The texture of it is just what throws everybody off. The other one was a home run. So ultimately, if you want to decide whether you're going to do smoked or baked for the puree of your pumpkin pie, depends on what you're going for. But I think down the road, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do the baked. I love the thought of that smoked pumpkin pie, but at the end of the day, you have to think about the enjoyment of the eater. You got to think about the experience of your family and friends that you're wanting to feed. Yes, you can give them the novelty, but everyone wants that classic pumpkin pie. Not just the flavor, but that texture as well. So, was it a failure? No. Was it a success? I'm gonna have to say no. Doing a pumpkin pie with the puree coming from the smoker is not as good as coming from the oven. It gives it an additional taste from the smoke, but the overall experience is just not as good. So, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. This is going to be my one of a couple different pumpkin experiments I'm going to be doing in this series. So if you want to come back and watch, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell so you know when the videos are coming out. Also, I do some lives every now and then when I get the feel for it. Or if I just get bored and I want to talk to my friends out there. But please like the video, and hopefully you like the series that I'm bringing to you. At the end of the day, just remember, keep on grilling. Even if it means grilling pie.